Recognized.
Thank the chairman. Secretary, thanks for your testimony today. Last month, it was announced that the Treasury Department hired 2 economists to study the effects and unintended consequences of sanctions. I think this is welcoming development given the expanded use of sanctions since the law passed, governing law passed in 1975 to create OFAC, the Office of Foreign Asset Control. How do you anticipate these economists will evaluate collateral damage that comes from sanctions? Do you see any implications for the status of the dollar as a world reserve currency, the payment system around the world, kind of the rivals that are confronting, macroeconomics today?
Well, we wanted to make sure that we do have experts who are consistently focused on analyzing the potential economic impacts of sanctions, since when we impose them, we always want to understand what the economic ramifications of them will be.
Do you think there's a real threat to the payment system that, we dominate today?
So the fact that the dollar is used as a reserve currency and plays such a huge role in international transactions does enable our sanctions to be much more effective. And it's not surprising that countries that are fearing they can be affected by our sanctions are looking for alternatives to the dollar. It's something that we simply have to expect. But the dollar plays the role it does in the world financial system for very good reasons that no other country is able to replicate, including China. And that is, we have deep and liquid, open financial markets, strong rule of law, and an absence of capital controls that no country is able to replicate. It will not be easy for any country to devise a way to get around the dollar.
Thank you. As the founder of the Sound Money Caucus, I certainly appreciate efforts to preserve the role of the dollar as the reserve currency. And frankly, I am concerned about the role of money being corrupted as a tool for coercion and control rather than a means of exchange and a store of value. And frankly, that seems at the heart of central bank digital currencies, but it kind of transcends down to one of the big developments globally where the United States dominates capital markets in terms of invested capital. In the space of fintech and cryptocurrencies, 75 to 90% of the liquidity is offshore. It seems like there's an effort to not trust American citizens in this, which is if you can't really stop it altogether, you at least want to keep it account-based because you can control third parties. You can use them as intermediaries. That seems to be a feature to some of the people's thinking. Are you familiar with, in December 2022, FinCEN issued a request for comment on a potential rule that would ban self-custody, which is essentially the ability for individuals to own their own assets and have a permissionless payment system?
So I'm not familiar with the details of that rule, but certainly we are concerned about the use of cryptocurrencies and digital assets for illicit.
I think we're all concerned about illicit activity, but the question is, are you trying to stop individuals from having self-custody? Because there seemed like that was an effort that was underway under the end of the Mnuchin time as secretary. So is that something apparently hasn't risen to your level of concern?
I haven't had discussions of that.
Thank you. And I'll just say, as chairman of Housing and Insurance, I'm concerned a little bit about, do you consider a CDFI fund as a regulatory agency? What's the role here for CDFI fund?
It's not a regulatory agency, but I know it is in the process of reconsidering certifications for CDFIs, but it is not a regulatory agency.
Thanks for that point of clarification. And look, as we look at the conservatorship of the GSEs, one of the reports that is long overdue. It was due in September of 2021, is the department's plan to get them out of conservatorship. I'll submit that for the record, but would you commit to responding to that in writing?
We want to work with Congress to do that. I think that Congress.
The gentleman's time has
is right.
expired, and
Thank
the
you.
Secretary can